Everybody good? Green light. Hearing no objections. Okay, I'll get started here. I appreciate y'all coming in today. I do have two separate cases I'm going to be dealing with. If you're trying to be easier than trying to do two separate news conferences, they're two completely separate incidences, but I felt it was important to get this out there at this point in time. Obviously, since what's going on with the Patrick Leola investigation, we've been working on these two cases, as well as that one, pretty much 24/7 since this all happened. The first one, in terms of what happened on March 18th, there was an officer-involved shooting regarding the Kent County Sheriff's Department. I know it's been out there a little bit, but the bottom line, and I will hand out opinions. I have a full opinion, legal opinion for both of these cases that I will share with you, as well as anything that I put up here is going to be shared with you as well, so you can use it. But I am not filing charges against the deputy in that case. Basically, it comes down to it was a mistake. It was a mistake that occurred because they had been dispatched to a car accident approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, hit a telephone pole. That telephone pole had broken, and you can see it. You may have to take a gander at it because it's in the top right hand of the corner. But the telephone pole had partially broken, but as the deputy, Deputy Romer, and his field training officer was sitting there in the car, the pole further broke. Deputy Romer was apparently unaware of this, quite frankly. You can they're sitting there for approximately 20 minutes with nothing going on. All of a sudden the pole starts to fall. His field training officer heard it first, says, go, 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 hops out of the car. Deputy Romer really had no idea what was going on. Instead of fleeing and going further away from the pole falling, he goes behind the car thinking possibly shots were fired. The biggest one, and you'll see here in just a minute, I'll play it for you, is that there's 2 shots fired. There's definitely 2 shots fired from the deputy's gun, but you can hear 3 popping noises on the in-car video. So one of those is the pole snapping, if you will. It doesn't come completely down, but it sounds remarkably similar to the shots. I mean, you really can't, they're indistinguishable. What was the shot and which was the pole falling, it's hard to tell. So I'll play that right now to give you an example of why, kind of a justification of why we're not filing charges. This is, like I said, the in-car video. The time is off. It's actually about 2:30 in the morning, but the time is off there. But if you look at the top right hand by the triangle, you can kind of see the telephone pole there. It's kind of hard to see as it falls, but you can hopefully hear it real well. So that's the best video. I don't know if you want to see it again. As I said, this will be on the flash drive for you to play at some other time if you want to. But clearly it was a mistake by the officer. We do have the in-car video. The body camera video was here. I'll just mention this. There's no sound on this. Now, as I said, the deputies had been in there for approximately maybe a half an hour, essentially doing paperwork, waiting for the tow truck to arrive, so it's quiet. Per policy, he muted his body cam video. So the video's there, but there's no sound. I suppose if you want to try and match it up, you probably could, but this is essentially what the Deputy Romer was doing here. You can see him, he exits the vehicle, goes around the back. And as I said, there are 2 shots fired, and if you listen to the first tape, you can hear 3 distinct popping noises. So this was a mistake. He, in his statement, basically said he thought his partner was being shot at. He didn't know why exactly they were getting out of the vehicle, didn't know what was going on, but he heard the popping noises, saw the individual who was in the car running kind of towards his partner, and thought maybe that individual was shooting. There was nobody else out there at that point in time, so that's why he decided to fire 2 rounds at that point in time. So I don't know if there's, I guess, I was going to do this. Any questions on this specific incident? I guess I did instead have a bunch of them. Any have any questions on this?
Just to be clear, there was a person in the car that the pole would have fallen on.
There was a person that he was down the road. He did flee because I don't know. He was sitting on the side in the grass, so he wasn't in the car that you saw in the accident. He wasn't just sitting there because obviously the car had been damaged. But he was not sitting there. He was down the road. He heard the popping noises too and started to take off because the pole was falling quite clearly, and everybody he and the officer, at least the field training officer, kind of freaked out, thinking that it was going to fall on them. Fortunately, it didn't go all the way down. You can kind of see it just kind of goes further, but it never falls on the road or anything like that. Consumers' power is brought in.
Where did the officer's gunfire hit?
We don't, nowhere. Cannot see anywhere. You know, as you can see, it's warehouses out there, so there was no sign. We don't know where it went off into the hinterlands. As far as we can tell, maybe it touched, high on some warehouses, but we have no idea where fortunately nobody was hit.
So the person that was out there that was running toward them, he didn't fire at him? Is that what you're
Well, he was
saying?
firing at him, but he missed. I mean, he was firing at him, but he clearly missed. Wherever the bullets went, we don't know. But he thought that individual that was running towards his partner was, the one firing gunshots, and so he fired at him, but just simply missed.
Okay, and that wasn't the guy that was involved in the accident?
He was a guy. He was waiting for the tow truck too. He was waiting
Oh.
for the tow truck and just sitting on the side of the road, and he heard the pole snapping, and he took off as well.
Hey, Chris, if I was in that situation as an individual, and I think someone's shooting at me, and I fire back and find out it was just a pole cracking electrical, would I be charged? Would you take care of situation?
Depends. I had the same situation. I mean, it kind of goes to the reasonableness of the person's action. It's a mistake. The law allows for a mistake to occur, so it's a reasonable mistake. Especially when you hear that popping noise, it sounds like a gunfire. Once again, it all depends on the circumstances. When they're just sitting there, and all of a sudden the partner goes go 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 go. If you're just standing there in the car and somebody's walking and you fire off rounds, that's not going to be appropriate. It's kind of taken in context with the emergency. You heard his partner kind of yell, go, go, go. Uh-oh, he doesn't know what's happening, and he takes cover behind the vehicle. So I think all that taken into consideration, that's what all these analyses are. It's not just picking out one thing. It's taking a look at everything, the totality of the circumstances. All right?
One more.
Sure.
Grand Rapids police officer is charged with accidental discharge, not intentionally firing at anybody. In this case, you have an intentional firing at somebody, but they mistook the circumstances. Can you explain that situation?
Two different things. That's exactly two different things, because there is, it's not the Grand Rapids officer is a careless discharge. That's, essentially losing control of your weapon. That's a specific charge. An intentional discharge is different, but this was intentional, so since there's kind of the justification, if you will, because he thought, given all the facts and circumstances, that somebody was attacking him, that's why the law says he is, justified in firing the shot. So it's similar. I get where the question is, but it's two different circumstances, and you got to take it analyze it two different ways. Okay, the next incident was March 30th. March 30th, most of you reported there was a homeowner. There was a home invasion. I took the actual address out. I didn't want to, tip off. I'm sure most of you know it, but I'm not going to disclose the actual address of where the homeowner lives. But it's down on 108th Street in the southern portion of the county. There was a home invasion that occurred. The homeowner ended up shooting the individual that was trying to break in. Once again, I am not filing any charges against that homeowner in this incident. This was a reasonable use. This is completely justifiable. They had a reasonable fear of somebody breaking into your home. As most of us are well aware, the home is your castle. So somebody coming in the home in the middle of the night, they had seen this individual outside. You'll hear on the 911 tape that I'll play for you, at least the wife knew he had a gun. The individual did have a gun. There was a gun found in the grass when the police arrived on scene, and the individual was lying there. There's multiple bullet holes and so forth inside the residence. There's blood inside the residence. The only person that was actually shot and injured was Mr. Christopher Wolf, who was the person breaking in. It was a single gunshot, but it was a rifle shot that went essentially through his arm and did some damage to his arm and shoulder and exited out the back, and it was sufficient enough to kill him. But he was clearly engaged in breaking and entering a home invasion. The homeowner shot him, and it was a traumatic experience. And I will play, this is where we get into some of the language issues that you may be aware of. This is about a 6-minute 911 call. I've actually edited that down further. I'll play a couple excerpts of it because I don't think you want to sit here for 6 minutes, but I'll try and hit some of the main points. So this is the 911 call.
It's fucking time. Come on. We've got somebody hitting attacking our truck out in our driveway.
Attacking your truck out your driveway?
Yes, and they have a gun. They have a fucking gun.
What's your address?
No, we have no fucking clue.
Okay, is it male, female?
It's a male with a hoodie. I don't fucking know. I can't look out there. My husband's got his gun out. He's gonna shoot him.
Okay, tell your husband to stay inside.
He is. He's not going outside.
Okay, so your husband is on yourself?
He's got arms. Of course he's got arms. We live in this fucking country. He's got his gun out.
Okay.
We're gonna shoot him. We're gonna have to shoot him.
Why are you
He looked at me and pulled a gun. He looked at me and pulled a fucking gun.
Listen to me. Why do not shoot somebody for damaging your vehicle?
He has a gun.
I
He has a gun. I think they were in our house earlier.
When were they in your house?
I'm going to pause it right there, and I'm gonna, she does make some statements. She thinks they were in the house earlier. There's no evidence of that. Obviously this is a traumatic situation. We find no evidence that the person was actually in the house before he was in the house when they were trying to get in there. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the actual.
Okay, stay out.
There's nobody close.
Okay,
It's okay, Ray.
listen.
It's okay.
Help
I'm
me.
listening. I'm sorry.
We've got Emily County on the way too, okay? You're right on the border, but we got as much help to you as we can.
Okay.
Who is that truck registered to, you or your husband?
It's my husband, Alan.
Alan
Lenhart.
Lenhart? Okay, perfect.
Yes. Where is he, Al? He's gonna come to the back window.
Okay, is
Here,
everything locked? Your doors, your
Oh,
windows?
they're all locked.
Okay.
Oh, my God. He's coming in, Al. Shoot him.
Okay.
Shoot him.
I got a shotgun in me, buddy. You better fucking move your ass out of here right now. You understand me?
He shot him. He shot him. Oh, my God. They want to come through the guns. Oh, my God. Al, shoot him again. Al, go down right now. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Okay, so you're your husband.
So that goes on. You can take you'll have the full 911 there that you can do whatever you want with. But as you can see, it's an extremely traumatic experience for the wife. It was for the husband as well. We do have some photos here, just to give you an idea of what it looked like inside the house. Get this. This was essentially this is where the homeowners were inside their kitchen. This is the living area, as you can see, and I talk about in the opinion, they actually went so far as to put a chair. That chair is up against the door to brace the door to make sure the individual doesn't come in. And he clearly tried to get in. The husband says that, you heard him on the tape saying, hey, I've got a shotgun, you better get out of here. That seemed to egg him on more, and he tried to push his way even further into the home. Can't do the scrolling. This just gives you a close-up shot. Obviously, you can see the projectiles. There's damage to the triangles there are actually where the bullet holes were. And essentially, it's an attached, they have like a mudroom. It's in a mudroom. That's the main living area, but this you can see going out. It kind of goes out to some steps. That's a mudroom leading out to where the garage is located and a side door. So once again, you can see other triangles of more defects of bullet holes being shot there. You get the other one. Keep in sequence. As you can see here, he was clearly struck inside the home because, like I said, the homeowners were there was no injury to them, but he was clearly shot in the arm. There's bleeding there. You back out, this is the other view if you're looking inside the house from there, and you can see there's triangles there with more gunfire. I think essentially they found the gun, it was essentially empty. There was no other, so he essentially unloaded his weapon. It was a handgun that he was firing at this point in time. And that's the door leading to the outside. When you hear him on talking about the truck, this leads out to the driveway where the truck was, and you can see once again the blood as somebody's exiting, and he was found essentially around the corner in the yard during that point in time. So this was, a fairly simple, case in terms of, it was defense of the home, self-defense. Once somebody breaks into a house and is going after the homeowner, there's no duty to retreat. They can use the amount of force necessary, and in this case, deadly force, to repel somebody coming into the house. So there will be no charges filed out of that incident either. I'll hand out. Should have enough copies. There's two separate. This is the March 30th incident. There are opinions on that. If you want to just take one for your organization, pass it along. And then I do have the CDs here. I think I'm going to need one more. I didn't think Ellen Formador. I didn't make one. You didn't let me know. So we'll make. I got to do it off my computer. So we'll get you another CD here. Remember a flash drive. So any questions on that incident?
So he had fired, the man that ended up dying fired first?
No. It's unclear. It depends on the obviously a traumatic experience. The wife thought the intruder fired first. The husband said, no, I fired first when he started to push his way in the door. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, that's the thing. It doesn't matter. You don't have to wait for somebody to fire at you when you're inside your home in these circumstances. So it's a little bit unclear who fired first, but given the fact he was inside, that's all you need.
You mentioned that handgun, though. There were firings from both guns.
Correct. We don't know who fired first. There was going both ways clearly.
Or if anyone wants to give us a flash drive, that would be great.
Yeah, another. I should have 5. I can make a couple more. Yeah, it just takes a second.
Chris, did you get autopsy results back on the victim, and not the victim, but the intruder?
Yeah, it was a single gunshot wound. It was a weird shot. It went through his arm and kind of bounced around and exited out his back. Obviously, it's a shotgun shell, so it's a slug, so it did some serious damage. It wasn't like in the chest or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess I meant toxicology.
Oh yes, there was toxicology. It's in my. It was he had THC and meth. I want to say. It's in my opinion. I do have that in my opinion. So he did have stuff, and he had been involved in some other incidents earlier that night because he was involved in a car accident. He fled from that, stole a car. The car that he stole was found in a yard just down the street from where this house was. So clearly he was under the influence and doing some bad things that night.
And they don't know each other?
No, there's no way. He just, I think, kind of driving around and trying to, get away. I think he was thinking the police were after him from the first incident.
Can you talk to me about how rare these types of situations are? Though this is a family's right to do this type of thing, as you determined, can you talk about, this is this much of the time?
Sure. I can't think. I've done a few of these in my 6 years, but it hasn't been a whole lot. I mean, I can probably count it on one hand in terms of the time where we actually have an intruder coming in and getting shot. So, home invasions unfortunately happen, but the vast majority of home invasions occur when people are not home. I think that's the default that most criminals don't want to end up in confrontations like this and don't want to get caught, so they try and pick on houses that are unoccupied or they think are unoccupied. So we get a lot of home invasions, but actually where we have an intruder and people are firing, it's fairly rare.
Last time we spoke to you, you said, these two cases were really tying up your office, and we obviously have that Luoya one. All eyes are on. What does this mean for you now in terms of your focus with Luoya?
I figured we'd have a question like that. So, I mean, it is. I've been focused on that. Like I said last week, I appreciate the state police. They got at least a good chunk of the investigation towards me. We're still waiting on other things. So I've been able to review what they submitted. I've actually had some follow-up things that I've asked them to do in addition to what they're still waiting for. So it's progressing. I think this also gives you a demonstration. I mean, the first one's from March 18th or mid-March, and we're just getting a ruling on it now. So it gives you an idea of what goes into these investigations, and quite frankly, the Kent County one was not as involved, and there wasn't as many issues there. So the investigation is progressing as normal. We're treating it just like we do. It's a serious thing. These were serious incidents, and that's why I want to get these out, because we have these homeowners that are waiting, wondering if they're going to face charges, essentially, and same with the deputy. So we take these very seriously, but there's a process we need to go through, and we're following that process.
I have one question that's going to completely switch gears, and I
Uh-oh.
apologize. Roe v. Wade and that conversation, our state attorney general, Dana Nessel, has said that she's not going to enforce that 1931 law in the books in Michigan. How do you plan to handle those cases, or have you thought about it?
Quite frankly, I've been pretty busy. I haven't thought about it. I've gotten some of those questions right now, but I think right now it's so speculative. It's still speculative. Yeah, we've got this opinion out there that says it's going to overturn. We still don't know if that's officially the case. Then I'm also being sued by the governor in terms of she's trying to stop the law. There's also another Planned Parenthood. So I have no idea what the law is going to look like or what the situation is going to be whenever this all changes. So at this point in time, it's pretty speculative as to what I'm going to do or what I'm not going to do, and I'm just, gonna kind of stay out of it right now because it's too early.
I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, how much longer for Leoya? I mean, could it be a month, or, I mean?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, I don't want this, hanging over that family and the Grammars Police and this community for a month. I'm doing everything I can. We're on top of this, so I don't think it's gonna be a month. How long, I don't know. It's not gonna be this week. I can tell you that. It's not gonna be this week. I'm not gonna, surprise on Friday. I'm not doing something like that. So anything after this week, who knows? But it's clearly, we still need time. I'm still going through the things, and there's still investigation to be done. And I have no idea when the material from Axiom, the body camera and the taser stuff is gonna come back. I wouldn't think it's gonna be a month. I mean, I guess that's the only thing that could drive this out that far, is that we don't get that, but I just don't think it's gonna take that long.
Let's see, just to recap, that's the data from both those.
The taser and the body cam, because there's some questions on what happened with the body cam, so if hopefully a forensic will give us a better idea, maybe not. I mean, that's the thing, you don't know what's gonna show up, and that's, you hate to say, okay, I'm gonna base, here's my decision, then all of a sudden you get a piece of evidence, oh, wait a second, so that, that could change things, it may not, but I don't know, and so I don't wanna be out there.
I'm just pushing for a little more detail back on that first one. We watched you make a statement, law was justified here for him to fire those shots. Can you go in a little more detail on how the law justifies? Just, I think it's important to focus on that when we have another officer
Sure.
involved shooting.
Yeah, I do discuss that in my opinion, and I've done self-defense stuff before. You have a right to defend yourself or others. Use deadly force if you believe that, imminent deadly force is about to happen to you. So that's essentially, it's not unreasonable for this officer to hear the snapping, turns out to be a telephone pole, but to make that assumption that, geez, somebody's shooting at me, to return fire. And so that's what I'm talking about, that you have the right to use deadly force to defend yourself if it's honest and reasonable, and you feel that, to protect yourself, you need to use deadly force an imminent threat. So that's that's that case.
If that sound would have been distinctly different from a gunshot sound, would that have changed that?
Could have, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's always, hypotheticals are always tough, and that's, everybody always wants to know, oh, when can we use, it's, every case is different, especially when it comes to self-defense or defense of others. I mean, it's such a factual question. The law is relatively settled in terms of that's a pretty specific test, but you take out and add certain elements or certain facts, and it may change. So it's hard to say. Yeah, I'm basing it on this, and based clearly with those three sounds. One of them isn't a gun. It's got to be the pole. So, yeah.
Can you give us a sense of how much time has been put into reviewing these cases, and how much work has gone into that?
A lot. I mean, I'm not trying to be flip, but I don't keep track of it. I mean, these two cases and the Leola case is, at least for the last week, this has been pretty much exclusively what I've been working on. I haven't been to court, I haven't done much else. I had a few meetings, but if there's something, I'm focusing on these.
In a justified use of force under the law, it's the officer's interpretation of the events at the time. Can you explain how the pole not falling and the sound coming first plays into that decision?
It's what it's hard to do, but you have to. Sure, you have to put yourself in the officer's shoes and what they're taking in, and once again, it's not just the pole falling; it's his partner saying go 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 go, and him bailing out of the car at this, because all of a sudden, I mean, literally, they're just sitting there doing paperwork, and all of a sudden this happens, and it's dark at night. He's not knowing sure what's going on. It's not it's not crazy to think, geez, why was he thinking that when you put this all together? And that's the thing, you got to put it all together.
But the guy that was running, he didn't have a weapon, of course.
Nope.
I mean, is that a factor in this? I mean, should the deputy have looked closer or something, or?
Maybe, in terms of should he didn't have a weapon, the part of it, he could have, maybe there could have been a lot of things, but, given the fact, just based on what he knew at that point in time, yeah, sure that he didn't have a weapon, they didn't pat him down either. Because they didn't do you'll find out they didn't do a drunk driving investigation because he fell asleep. I mean, he simply fell asleep, he wasn't drunk, he wasn't doing anything wrong, so they're not going to pat him down, so there's always the opportunity that geez, we didn't take care of, didn't, see if he had a gun, he could have, and, these are difficult times, so. Okay, so how many flash drives am I missing? 2? Just one? There's one. I'll do that right now, and other than that, I'm all set. So I'll do the one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.